Good morning, everyone. I think we're live. I hope we're live. Welcome to Breakfast Gatorchatter, Week 3, LSU. It is 9 a.m. Sunday, September 14th. And unsurprisingly, our Gators are coming off another loss. We are now 1-2, and the Billy Hot Seat dance continues, but we've been dealing with this dance for a couple of years now. In perusing Gatorchatter this week, leading up to this game, this was always a big game. LSU at night, every time is a big game. Very little chatter about it. No one predicting a win. No one caring that much. No one expecting us to be even competitive. And I thought we'd be competitive. I mean, even Vegas only had LSU incredibly as a 6.5-point favorite at home, and this is supposed to be the number 3 team in the nation. So I don't know if that was, I don't necessarily think that was a respect for the Gators as it was a kind of a lack of respect for LSU, because I think it's obvious to everyone now that LSU is not the number 3 team in the nation. They're a solid above average team. But this is not one of their better teams, particularly on offense. I think that's obvious to everyone. And if Florida even had an inkling of playing right or playing well, they would have won the game. But leading up to the game, there was one quote that I saw that struck me, and by one of my users, and I'm just going to put it up on my screen here. Here it is. This is the least excited I've ever been for a football game. There is no outcome that would make me happy. I hate losing, but if we somehow squeaked out a win, it would be even worse. Now, if I could show any quote on Gatorchatter, and we have 1.8 million posts on Gatorchatter, if I could show any of them to Scott Strickland, that would be the one I would show him. When the fan base is at a point where a win at night at LSU would actually be worse than a loss, because we're so desperate to move on from Billy Napier. The loss, the inexcusable loss last week, was yet another crushing reminder that the season is already gone, and we're just treading water here until we can move forward with something else. And one player that kept a sliver of dreams alive, and who saved Napier from his job in the first place, was DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway was our biggest recruit in a while. He was easily Napier's best recruit ever, his key recruit. And when you have a good quarterback and you have an elite quarterback, you can win games you really shouldn't win. And you always have hope. In football these days, the quarterback has so much power that good ones can make bad teams good, and good teams champions. We've seen it before. That was our one base of hope. And Lagway was hurt the entire offseason. He didn't practice. He didn't play. Oh, he should have had surgery. Yes, no, he didn't have surgery. Comes in week 1, and he was mediocre for a half. And we thought, he's rusty. Tramel Jones, the backup, played a lot better. But, that was week 1, and we were playing a high school team, and it really didn't matter. Then he played pretty mediocre against USF, and last night he was awful. And I think he's still hurt. He strained his calf over the summer, and I think that is definitely affecting things, at least to some degree. His mechanics are terrible. His footwork is terrible, and I think that has at least something to do with the calf. He can't run. He was always advertised as a dual threat quarterback. He can't run. He's slow. He was described last night in the chat box as Al Roker in pads. So, and he didn't slide. he kept getting popped over and over again, almost like it would have been painful to slide on that calf. And if that's the case, if he's hurt, why is he playing? But I mean, Lagway, I'm not ready to concede that Lagway is a bust and just a bad quarterback, and he might be. I'm not quite ready to concede that. He didn't play all summer. He's hurt. And he's hamstrung by a terrible offensive line who is mediocre at run blocking and absolutely hideous at pass blocking. And of course, hamstrung by Billy Napier's play calling. After every snap last night, and we didn't really try to establish the run. We came out slinging early, but every single snap he was running for his life immediately. And he was forcing the ball right and left, just kind of these slingshot snap passes like this with no legs under him. And he'd roll around and he'd go like this, and you'd go, okay, is there someone there? And sometimes there was someone there, and often the only people there were LSU defenders. And he had determined he was going to throw it one way or the other. And it was obvious, really, at least halfway through the game, that he didn't have it. And it was unlikely he was going to get it back. Now, Billy Napier, of course, never considered for a moment. The pick six, the third pick, the fourth pick, the fifth pick. Billy Napier never considered for a moment to sit him down, ever. Someone mentioned to me that, of course, the record for interceptions by a quarterback in Gator history is when John Reeves threw 9 in a game in 1969. Now, the absurd thing is, what coach would leave his quarterback in to throw 9 interceptions? Billy Napier is one of those coaches that would leave a quarterback in to throw 9 interceptions. If that game had been another half, Lagway might have broken that record. He might have had 10. And we're talking the opposite of Steve Spurrier, who would realize quickly if a quarterback didn't have it, he was gone. He was down. Sit down. Next man up. And he'd go through 3 and 4 in a game if he had to. And that's just Billy. And we have 2 offensive touchdowns in 2 weeks. 2. I don't know what else we need to see. The defense played well enough, again, to win. Especially against the run. LSU had 1 long run all night. If you take away that 1 long run, they had 51 yards on 21 carries. That's good defense. But the defense, on the sideline, this has been going for so long, where the offense just can't pull its own weight. And once we get behind, Billy Napier is the worst at clock management I have ever seen in the 30 plus years I've been watching football. We just drain that clock. There is no such thing as hurry up. Run it all the way down to 1 second, snap, and then maybe run the ball. I mean, he has no idea what he's doing with the clock. He has no idea how to play from behind. This LSU team was not great. I certainly didn't feel kind of the aura of their home field like I normally do. The crowd was great. They were loud. But I think everybody knew that right away, even when we weren't playing that well, that this LSU team was beatable. There's nothing special about this LSU team, and they're not a threat at all to win the SEC. But as Gator fans, we have to watch every single game in this crap game plan and this flow. One goof after another, this mistake leads to another mistake. And I was reading this morning and I saw another quote, and I have to share it with you and read it to you because I thought it was just so fitting of what the average fan is watching and thinks about. Here it is. I see him in my nightmares, talking about Billy, that is, sheepishly roaming around the sidelines with that confused and uncompetitive sling blade grin, entirely out of his depth, sending the 12th man out to the huddle so he can personally deliver some retarded, behind the line of scrimmage play on 3rd and 9 that will lose 2 and force a punt. But not before a delay of game and a holding call. Oh, wait, now there's a false start. Guess we shouldn't have used our last timeout to save those 5 yards on the previous drive's 3rd and 14. Mandatory runoff. Clock's ticking, but we forgot the play. Oops, game's over. I guess we'll have to wait until next week to lose those two. It's the Keystone Cops thing. It's embarrassing. Last night, again, was embarrassing. It was a very winnable game. We then watch USF, the team that came into the swamp and beat us last week, go out and lose by more than 5 touchdowns to Miami, the team we have to play this upcoming week. You know, things just don't look very good. And to discuss how things look a little more, I'm going to bring in Jason Walker. Him and I, again, have not spoken. I have not gotten his reaction. But I am looking forward to it now. Let me just put these on. Jason, can you hear me?
Hey, buddy. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's funny that you say, you use the words not look too good, and then you bring me on the camera. I appreciate that correlation. That is good game planning right there. Something we didn't see last night for sure.
Well, you don't need a question from me. What's your reaction?
Well, look, like you said, I don't think anybody believed that, we were going to somehow look different than we have under Billy Napier. But the game, just looking at the game real quick, it was entirely winnable. The defense was on, and I'm going to take this game part of the discussion, Aaron, to shout out Ernie Graham's kid. Because Graham was fantastic. He was beastly out there on a defense that played so well, with the exception of one bad safety play that went for a long gain, which they didn't score on anyway. Graham was the leader of that defense and seemed to be everywhere on every snap. So I'll call him out. That game was winnable because LSU, Nussmeier, nothing about them. That running game was terrible. They kept trying to run it at Florida, and it was bad. But speaking of bad, so were we. And offensively, we thought we knew just about everything about Billy Napier, but this thing with Lagway clearly not being ready. His lower body clearly isn't healthy because he's not setting his feet. And we were wondering, is that just laziness and undisciplined? Is that a lack of practice? I think it's physical. I think he can't really engage his lower core to push like he did last year. That's why you're seeing him sling everything with his arms, because he's not healthy down there. But he's such a competitor. Remember, he didn't want to miss that Texas game last year. He's such a competitor, and he feels the weight of this program on his shoulders, which is exactly what you want leaders to do. Unfortunately, Billy's got to be bigger. He's got to be the CEO of the program and say, DJ, you're not healthy. You're not ready. We're going to play someone else in the meantime. That would be the kind thing to do, but Billy's not being kind. He just sends him back out there because Lagway wants to be out there. That's not a head coach, Aaron. This isn't Little League. We can't just let a guy play actual games to get him up to speed. There's no precision around that. Billy uses the word precision. I don't think he knows what it means, because there's nothing precision about sending a damaged quarterback out there to try to execute a passing game that we clearly weren't ready for. That is number one. The loyalty to Lagway as our quarterback is an automatic flag. If you ever hear a coach talk about that, if a coach is not willing to do everything it takes to win a single football game, you know you've got the wrong guy. And Billy treating these 3 games like it's some kind of preseason is mind-blowing to me. It also says that this is not a coach that should be at the helm of any SEC school, including Vandy. No offense to Vandy, who's a lot better than we are right now, Aaron Bland. That is a red flag that this guy doesn't have it. On the field, in the CEO boardroom of your program, that is a huge red flag, because there's no way that DJ Lagway should have taken every snap of that football game. And it has nothing to do with Lagway and who he is. It has everything to do with his health and the clear results that you see on the field out there. It's not like we have a noodle arm QB2 out there either. We saw Tramel Jones come in and execute the passing game, yes, against Long Island, but well enough to know that, okay, this guy can actually do something on an SEC field. It is, completely obvious that even this part of it, executing his offensive game plan, he's just willing to play his guys and let's go get them and let's get you ready for the next one, DJ Lagway. But instead, he's making it worse, and Lagway clearly is getting worse out there on the field.
Well, what's worse? Pulling, maybe Napier's worried about his confidence. What's worse, pulling him early or leaving him in to continue to throw picks?
100% leaving him in. His body,
ideal.
Right. His body's already not 100%, so he's going to get 100% getting beat up in a game against LSU. It's ridiculous, but that's what we've come to expect from Billy Napier. There's one thing, Aaron, that we've come to expect. It is the ridiculous. Everybody's done with Billy. Everyone online last night, Aaron, including in the box, which everybody should be participating in on game day. It was actually, I felt like we all had beverages and we were all just sitting around, arms around each other, watching this madness happen. But all of it were lampooning the things that Billy does. We've always done this, the jet sweeps, all the shifting on the line of scrimmage where the LSU defense is like smoking a cigar, just waiting for them to be done. You guys done shifting yet? Because they know what's coming anyway. It's so obviously terrible that Billy, I'm going to do all this crazy stuff in there. The only thing that's crazy is that he keeps doing it. Completely useless, completely ineffective out there.
Live chat has become a lot more pleasant because no one is getting angry anymore at how terribly we are. So we can all just watch the game and enjoy it. It used to be when we stunk it up or lost, people would just start ranting. And the fact that nobody's ranting tells you that everybody's just done. It's amazing anybody's left to sit around and chat. We're doing it now just for almost amusement reasons. And here we got the hits keep on coming. Now we have to go to Miami this week. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I think there's something that's unfortunate here, Aaron, and that's that, it doesn't take much to lose a football team. It doesn't take much. You've got a defense that's giving their heart on every play, and then you have a coach who's willing to take that goodwill that the defense has given you on the field and toss it aside because you're unwilling to do the hard things necessary to win football games. And so you're sending DJ Lagway, a 50% DJ Lagway out into the SEC Wolves, and you're watching this go on, and nothing's changing, and you lose. The ultimate consequence of competition, losing. And you see what happened. They didn't, we've seen this before. Stop me if you've heard it, right? We don't show up for the alma mater after the game is over. Everybody just goes into the locker room. Does not take much to lose a team. And now you're going to go down to Miami where you were recruiting against. Miami tried to recruit all these guys. And now you're going to go down there to a much better prepared football team, and forget the fan factor for a second, but a much better prepared football team that did the business you couldn't do, destroying South Florida. And I don't know, Aaron. I think, we go down there, the game itself, guys are going to suck it up and do what they do because a lot of those guys that Billy created that recruited are high character guys. But it doesn't take much to lose a football team. And I think we saw the beginnings of that last night when Billy wouldn't do the hard. We saw Dan Mullen do this. We've seen McElwain do this. The hard things that it takes to win in the SEC, when you're not prepared to do them, the players sense it. And, it doesn't take much after that to completely fall off the cliff.
I had put up a poll on Gatorchatter last week about when Billy Napier would get fired. And the poll was all over the map. People, it was varied, but the the winner of the poll barely was that it would be after Mississippi State, basically. We have 2 byes this year, one after Miami, one after Mississippi State. If you're going to fire a coach and use an interim, those are normally when you do that. Is it possible if Florida goes out and embarrasses themselves this week, falls to 1-3, that they could tell Billy to take a seat this early?
I think he would have to do something obvious to force Strickland's hand. This is what Mullen did. He just stopped. He's like, well, I'm done. I'm not coaching anymore. We saw that decline. Missouri, the South Carolina game, where it was a complete no-show in South Carolina, where it was very obvious. Then Strickland had to do something on there. Will Billy give us that moment, Aaron? I don't know. I think we saw a little peek into Napier's psyche when he left Lagway on the field that whole time. DJ wanted to get the job done, so he's going to leave him in there to get the job done. Napier is not going to do anything to leave until he's forced to leave. And so when does Scott Strickland do that? You can point to the basketball program and say, well, he replaced Mike White. Well, did he? Mike White kind of sensed all the thing, and he took his own path out of there. So Billy would have to initiate that. And Aaron, I don't see that happening until the season's over. Now, that could change in there. We've seen McElwain pull a cord himself, but this is different. I think Billy thinks he can do this, and he just needs to tune up or whatever he was blabbing about last night. Oh, we'll just get a little more precision here and there. He's trying to tune the team up while everybody else is tuning out, and so I don't think there's a necessary clear path to when Strickland would let that happen. If we don't win any more games, including Mississippi State, okay, maybe that's Napier showing. I'm not, that maybe that's his Mullen moment there. But I'm not convinced Napier takes the easy way out, and I'm not convinced that Scott Strickland has the cojones to do this. Because let's think about this, Aaron. Why? Why wouldn't Strickland do it? Because he doesn't care. I don't think anybody inside the University of Florida has shown that they truly care about excellence in their football program. Even if we replace Napier and now have to wait another 4 years to see if Florida can be Florida again, all of those responsible for this mess will continue to make millions of dollars. And that is the biggest bag over the head, punch in the stomach, low-life BS of all, is that we all have to endure more crap while everybody, now the players too, coaches, administration, everybody inside the University of Florida ecosystem makes millions. There's zero accountability for excellence because the check's still clear. There's no accountability there in that. So, fire him, don't fire him, noodles, don't noodles. It is a miserable state of the Florida program right now. So, who knows when or where it'll happen or even if it will matter.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because a close second in the poll was that he will not get fired at all. So there's the fans kind of throwing up their hands and saying Strickland's not going to do anything. Despite the fact that the fourth year is normally when the coach goes bye-bye. But as you mentioned, McElwain and Mullen wanted out. They were done.
That's right.
They were finished. And so that pushed things along. I don't think Napier wants out. I think he's satisfied with the path they're on. I think he wants to keep coaching.
Yep.
Mullen couldn't wait to get his huge buyout and leave. So
Yep.
Man, I just want to pull for the Gators again, Jason.
I know. And hyperbole alert here, Aaron. I think, and we're going to use the name Lane Kiffin as a stand-in for any sort of offensive coach, right? But we're going to use Lane as a physical example of that. Does anybody believe? Well, I'll put it this way: Lane Kiffin could walk in next week and score 50 points with this offense, no question. There's no question about it. Even with, I think they could fix with some competence on offensive line coaching. I think we could at least give whoever's playing quarterback enough time. And I think there is enough time for There wouldn't be enough time for Lagway, but he can't plant that foot and drive the ball. So a guy has to be kind of more in a sling spot on there. Anybody with that in there, we could be putting 50 points on the board, Aaron, with anybody else. And that is what we want. We're 20-21. We are officially a losing program under Billy Napier. Losing under Billy Napier. So, yeah, it makes, all these folks that have been dumpers for the last 3 seasons in there, and those that have to kind of drop the flag and say, look, I was trying to be optimistic. I was trying to see if some of the good that's being done in the program can, make its way onto the field. I wanted to give it time. Time's up. I mean, it's been up for a lot of folks. But we're 20-21. We are a losing program under Billy Napier. So fans like you and me and everybody on Gatorchatter, everybody across the Gator Nation, Riddell Anthony last night, even retweeting something I'd said about Spurrier out there. We just want to care about winning again. We want to care about excellence again. And, people talking about holding folks accountable. It's only so much we can do as fans. We're holding them accountable out there, but we still want to be Gator fans. We want to cheer for the Gators. I was still pulling for us to win last night, Aaron, knowing we wouldn't, but still pulling for winning because winning feels a lot better than losing.
Jason, it's the fans, Florida fans, that have been bagged on.
Hell yeah.
More than our athletic directors by the rest of the sports media and the rest of the nation. Yeah. Oh, these fans, they don't appreciate. They run these coaches out of town, and the fans are the ones that always end up right. They make a bad hire. We call out a bad hire, yeah. And then 3 or 4 years later, they fire him. Oh, I guess you were right, and rinse and repeat. And I don't know if it's going to happen again. I assume that Billy will eventually not be the coach of the Florida Gators. I have dreams of that, but are we just going to do this again? Make another lousy hire? We're just it's such a bad place, and this whole thing where it's going to take in this era 3 or 4 years to get to the playoffs, I think is ridiculous. With the transfer thing and the NIL thing, I think you can build a roster quickly. Playoffs are 12 teams now. Florida's still an elite university. The right guy could get us on the right track quickly.
Even the wrong guy recruited enough to get us in that position. Billy Napier has at least recruited folks to the logo in there. I mean, we can see the talent on the field. He just doesn't know how to deploy said talent. Just one more thing about the game last night is that here we are trying to run down the field and score. We've got all this talent that he's accumulated. And what does he do? He sends our plotting tight ends out there to try to make big games. He has no idea what big games are. He has no idea how to deploy talent. And that's another reason why I don't think he's going to pull the cord. This is it for him. This is his last chance at a big school. He's not going to be Muschamp. He's not going to go to another SEC school. He has shown it. He coaches for 2 touchdowns in a 1-score game. He wants to shrink the game. No big program. This is it. This is his only chance to do it. But he's clueless on how to deploy talent. So, I heard folks worried about transfers. Like, why? They're either going to go when Billy's fired, or we're losing with them anyway. You have to trust that maybe we'll get lucky, and Scott Strickland, with his 50-year contract or whatever, will be able to stumble on a Todd Golden for football, and take it out of his hands. But it's not a rosy future, except for the end of the Napier era is closer to being upon us.
Well, there's no fear now that Lagway will leave if Napier goes. Okay, I think right now the chances of Lagway being our starting quarterback next year are extremely slim. That's just the way I feel right now.
Yep.
Jason, what we talk about our old coaches, Muschamp, McElwain, Mullen.
Right.
After they left UF, they went on. Muschamp went to work at Starbucks. McElwain went to little Central Michigan. Mullen sat around and collected his money. Now he's at crappy UNLV. There's total proof right there that they weren't some diamond in the rough and went on to do great things.
Right.
They were just awful hires. And Billy Napier is going to take another Central Michigan type job when he's done at Florida, and he may do all right because that's where he belongs. But for crying out loud, why can't we hire a coach that belongs in the big leagues? This is the SEC. When we're going to give Scott Strickland another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
You and I have a lot of this. As this comes, we're going to be able to discuss this a lot more. But boy, the fans are in a bad place.
We're in a bad place because I think what we've seen from Scott Strickland, he doesn't want a big name that could push him around. He's not going to do that. I heard John Gruden's name being thrown out there, which I don't think is right for the Florida Gator program anyway. But it would be an interesting name. I think we'd be at least a little curious how a guy like Gruden with an offensive mind could come in. Could he put 50 up in there? But I mean, the point is, it's a moot point because Scott Strickland's not going to bring somebody in that can bully him around. He's always going to take some up-and-comer who's grateful for the opportunity to be able to coach at the University of Florida in there. And like I said, all we can hope is that we get lucky, that that another smart guy inside the organization can point him in the right direction and say, you should hire this guy in there, like, allegedly Billy Donovan did for Todd Golden.
I think so many of us are desperate just to get Billy out and get an interim in just to see if there's a difference.
Yeah.
When the play caller is jettisoned from the building, are we going to see an immediate difference from Callaway or whoever else in the building? I am, once we have an interim in, we can start really rooting for the Gators again, even though it's a lost season. Yep. I don't want to wait till the end of the year for crying out loud, Strickland. If we lay another egg this Saturday, we're 1-3. Get Billy out of the building so we can try to avoid just a little bit of embarrassment for the rest of the year. Jason, the blood's in the water. Tennessee is licking their chops. They want to crush us like bugs. Yep. Mississippi State is thinking, oh boy, these guys aren't so bad. Thank God we don't play Vandy this year, or we might just be run over like a steamroller.
That's right.
A lot of football to go, and we're already in this state. So, man, I appreciate all your comments again. Any quick thoughts on the Miami game this week?
Well, like I said, I think what we'll be watching is, has he completely lost the team out there? We're going to watch and see what the effort level is. We see what the defense has set as their bar. Is it lower? Miami's got great coaching in the trenches. Cristobal is a big believer in that, which I agree with him on. Whether he's a great game day coach or not is beyond the point. We're going to be watching to see what happens there. I don't think any of us are going to like the outcome, no matter what out there. We just hope we don't get embarrassed like South Florida got embarrassed out there. Hopefully our defense can keep us in the game long enough to avoid catastrophic embarrassment in there. Like, last year when we played Miami.
Jason, thank you, and I'll bring you back on next week, and we'll see how it went. Take care, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Definitely at this point, it's time to wrap things up. I wish we had more to talk about than kind of the same old stuff, but boy, that's going to be the discussion. And firing Billy is going to be a wonderful thing because then we can talk about something else other than Billy Napier's incompetence. That day will come, ladies and gentlemen. This year, next year, 10 years, 20 years. Someday it will come. So thanks everybody for joining us. Miami should be fun. A lot of fun. No one's going to give us a chance, nor should they. But Jason makes a good point. I like this group of players. I think they have pride. Mullen seemed to recruit players that cared a lot more about themselves than the team. That's the way I saw it. I don't feel that way about this group, and I think they'll show some pride. Doesn't mean they're going to win many, if any, more games, but I don't think I think getting embarrassed does not sit well with them. They're not all thinking about money, NFL, or whatever. So, thanks everybody for watching, and have a great week.